This is modern homesteading. Ski and snowboard tuning on the Wranglerstar channel? Is that suitable content? Probably not, but that's what you're going to get today nonetheless. Snow conditions. So many of you may not be familiar with this style of snowboard. Snowboarding is not snowboarding. It's not just one discipline. There are many different styles now, not like it used to be. This is a precision carving board or an alpine racing board. This would be the type of board that the riders in the Olympics are riding to do slalom, giant slalom, high-speed precision carving. It's very different than a traditional board, as it's going to be a little bit longer. It's going to be extremely stiff. It's going to have a really deep side cut in it. You know, the modern day shaped skis that everyone's using now are directly a result from these, because they started to see how well that they carve. And you're going to have a hard binding. You're going to wear a stiff boot that's more like a ski boot. It's not a ski boot, but similar to a ski boot, and then the stiff binding. And then of course the stance is much more forward, almost like similar to a water ski, not quite. The reason being is I have big feet. I have size 12 feet, and I've got to get those off the board, because as you're carving on a board like this, oftentimes you will have it at a near 90-degree corner on hard carves, and you do not want the boots down in the snow because it lifts the edge out. But as far as tuning, everything is basically the same. Skis or snowboards. So we'll start with the edges on this, and then we'll wax it and polish it out and buff it out, and I'll just bring you along. I don't remember how little I was when I started skiing, but it was a long time ago. Grew up skiing, started snowboarding in 1997. It's hard to believe. I was one of the pioneers when the sports first started coming out. I can't believe it's been over almost 25 years or so. Hard to believe. So, living next to the premier ski area in one of them in the Pacific Northwest, we ski quite a bit, and we try to go up a couple, 2-3 times a week. So we're getting ready to go up this afternoon, and I've got my alpine board here. I've got Mrs. Wranglerstar's Randonnée skis here, and we're going to do a quick tune. I'll just show you some of the tools and techniques and why and what, and it might be interesting to you for those of you who are not the not skier type. So the tools we're going to use is we're going to have a piece of Scotch-Brite pad, a nice fine file, 12-inch file. This is a bevel tool. I'll show how all these work in detail. A detuning tool, a board scraper, and a wax brush, fine and coarse. In addition to that, we're going to have a hot iron, which is just a thrift store special, anything that you can find for cheap, because we're going to use it to melt wax, not for ironing your clothes after you do the wax. This is an 88-90-degree bevel tool, and what it does is, if you can see here, there's a little file in there. It's got some magnets that hold it into place. You can see that there's an 88 on there on that side. There's a 90 on that. What does that mean? Well, it's an angle. This is a true 90 degree this way. This is 2 degrees off. It's at 88. Some people have a preference to have a little bit more bite on their edge, and they'll actually grind it a little bit more than a true 90. I'm a 90 guy. So all this does is essentially, it's just reprofiling the edge as you ride and you hit ice, and it just gets chipped up and nicked at the time. So you use this as it glides along the P-Tex bottom there as a perfect guide to give you an angle. So you just use that to touch that up. I can feel the burrs there until it's nice and smooth. Not too much. Thing with this snowboards is, or skis, once the edge material is gone, it's gone. There's no replacing it. So you only have a finite amount. So you want to be careful and not dig too much with that. So we'll do both sides, and then I'll show you how to detune and kind of tighten everything up. So I can check my edges from front to back to front here, and they're really sharp. Just what I want. What I don't want is sharp edges in the waist of the snowboard, because especially on a snowboard like this where you make transitions so quickly from edge to edge, you don't want this catching because you're riding and you're actually cutting, you're carving more on your tail than your tip. So I'll mark a spot on the snowboard here that's kind of in the waist, you know, somewhere like this, say from here to right here. Over the bindings, typically I'll go center to center there, and I'm going to detune this. So I've got a piece of sandpaper on a block that's really fine, and I'm just going to very carefully just knock that edge down a little bit. Just so it's not a lot, but just a little bit like that. I'm going to do that on both sides. Yeah, that feels really good. Some people have different techniques. Some people even detune a little bit on the tip. I don't know. I never have done that. I don't know if it's better or not. Maybe, maybe not. But we'll take our Scotch-Brite pad here, and then we'll prep for our wax. Scotch-Brite pad is really good. It kind of just keeps everything clean and polishes off the burr that's left on the cutting edge from the file. And just makes it just nice. Nice. Of course, I'm going to be looking for any imperfections or deals. See, like I got the little metal protector on the back there. It's got a couple burrs on it. I'm going to take my file and smooth all those out. So when it comes to wax, that's a whole nother video in itself. There's different colors for different snow conditions, and I'm not going to go into all that, so I'll just pick kind of an all-around wax, and that's usually good. I use for years just standard paraffin wax like you get at the grocery store for candle making or whatever. It comes in like sticks, the cubes. It kind of looks like butter. It's just clear white, and that's better than nothing, and that works fine too. But you can really geek out on this stuff, and I don't typically. I just use what I have, but some people do. So once our iron's good and hot, we simply just start from the one end to the other and start dripping it on. I just will hold the iron kind of in an angle like that and just melt the wax on, and you can see it's just in a crisscross pattern. Just drip it on. Don't be stingy. We'll scrape off the excess. The base material on skis and snowboards is called P-Tex, and it's a really sophisticated plastic that holds and takes wax really good. We want to keep our iron moving. We definitely don't want to stop and burn or scorch anything, but we want to make sure that we get everything covered, that we melt that wax. That heat that we're generating from the iron will actually open up the pores in the base material and really allow it to stick in there. There's two types of waxing. There's cold waxing, which you can do with a stick. We do that on our cross-country skis, a little bit of wax you carry in your pocket. But there's nothing like a good hot wax. It just can't be compared with the cold wax. Once our wax sets up a little bit, now we're ready to scrape it off. I like to get the wax off before it gets too hard. It just scrapes a lot easier. You don't want it to be liquid, but you don't want it to be rock hard. If it gets too hard, just take your iron and heat it up a little bit. It just comes off so much better with the scraper when you have it a little bit warm. So scrape it down, get off all the excess. Once we get all of our wax scraped off, then we're going to use this brush. We got a really stiff bristle brush on this side, and then a kind of a piece of felt here, and this is for the final polishing compound. So this kind of really just works in and seats the wax really nice into the base. And you want to make sure you always do it in a forward to back direction. You don't want to go side by side. You want to go with the grains, you know, as you're going down the hill. And this is really nice. This gets all that wax off the edges here and just burnishes it all in really nice. You get consistency. It's lovely. I think I mentioned earlier, I started snowboarding in 1987, and I snowboarded and worked as actually a ski patroller on snowboards. One of the first guys to do that. They didn't used to allow it. I was a snowboard instructor for a number of years, and lived in Colorado, and where we would ski or snowboard. I guess I mostly snowboarded that 100 days a year. So done it for a long time, done it a lot, really enjoy it. But when Jack started skiing, I think we had him start skiing when he was 3 or 4, just little. I took up skiing again. I got skiing equipment and quit snowboarding. And I haven't really snowboarded since he's been little because it was difficult to teach him. Being on the snowboard, I was just much more stable and able to pick him up and help him and demonstrate to him how to ski properly wearing skis. So he's getting to the point now where he doesn't need any help from me. He's quite proficient and confident, and so I'm kind of excited to get back on the snowboards again. And I haven't done it for a long time, so I brought the old Rossi out of mothballs here, and I'll be strapping it on today. Now before my final polish, I want to get all this wax off of these edges. I rely upon these to keep me up, and it's much more critical with the snowboard because you don't have a second one to rely upon. So when you go into a hard corner and you're pulling a lot of G's, if this edge lifts out and you lose it, you're down. As skis, you have an extra one, so it's critical for me to really take care of these and make sure that they're tip top. So I got this little tool here. I don't know where it came from, but you don't need this, but anything wood, something soft that won't detune the edge. You want to go along here and make sure you scrape off any residual wax that's on the edge. You can see right there, there's some. So I'll hit this on both sides and make sure that these metal edges are completely exposed and not harboring any wax left, residual wax on them. So the final step in the process, well, almost the final, is I'm going to take my big Scotch-Brite pad and do a nice buff on this. I've got all the wax off the edges. I've got it burnished in really nice with the stiff bristle brush, and this just puts a fine polish on it and takes any scratches out that I may have put in with the brush. I don't know, does it make a difference? Probably not, but I enjoyed the process, and I like to be fast. It's getting more difficult for me to keep up with Jack. He's at an advantage where he doesn't share the same concerns of falling that I do, so I have to give myself every advantage to keep the upper hand. Alright, once I burnish that in there really nice, then I'll take my foam or felt in the back of my brush and just do a final quick polish. And that'll make it real nice. And this is going to be fast today. So that's it. Just like butter. I don't know if I can see the base. Yeah, you can see it. That's nice. The wax also fills any voids, rocks, different things that you hit. But yeah, that looks really good. I'm stoked. That's it. I don't always drive fire engines, but when I do, I drive 351.